John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, Edmund Kemper, Charles Manson, and Dennis Rader. These are only a few of the many infamous names you may be aware of. Today I'm going to inform you of the numerous classes of serial killers, as well as some of their shared characteristics. Many of you may not be aware of what makes a serial killer. However, it is necessary that you're capable of indicating any potential warning signs in people you interact with on a daily basis. I say this because the average human comes across 10 unapprehended killers in their lifetime. Some of you, on the other hand, may already be aware of these feasible indications. However, those that believe that they have a lot of knowledge on this topic are also the ones that are watching those fictional crime shows. I am personally guilty of doing this because I grew up watching shows like Criminal Minds and NCIS. I thought I knew everything until eventually I wanted to dig deeper. I wanted to know the truth behind these shows. I came across an author named John Douglas. John Douglas is a retired FBI profiler and founder of the Behavioral Analysis Unit in Quantico, Virginia. I'm going to share with you common traits, different classifications, and popular myths. Let's begin with common traits. A lot of serial killers share very similar biological factors. In fact, a study done at the University of Wisconsin-Madison Medical School shared a difference between 20 brain scans of psychopaths versus 20 brain scans of average Joe. The brain scans of the psychopaths showed that the ventromedial prefrontal cortex had little reactivity in it. This part of the brain mediates both empathy and guilt. The amygdala also had very little reactivity in it as well. This part of the brain mediates fear, aggression, and anxiety. Here is a picture of what the brain scan will look like. As you can tell, the brain scans are completely different, and this is where both the amygdala and the ventromedial prefrontal cortex lie. There's also quite a big difference in the back as well. Most serial killers also have similar childhoods. The author of Whoever Fights Monsters, Robert Ressler, stated that 40% of serial killers were physically beaten in their childhood. On top of this, most serial killers are also psychologically beaten and abused when they're children. A lot of them are neglected and shamed by the people that raised them. An example of this is BTK. His actual name is Dennis Rader, and BTK stands for Bind, Torture, Kill. His mom neglected him and shamed him that his self-esteem went so down and his hate for his mom went very high. This led him to absolutely resent women, which also led him to kill 8 women and 2 men, one of them being a little boy, and then one of the women being a little girl. I just talked to you about common traits. Now I'm going to talk to you about classifications. There are 3 types of serial killers. There's organized, disorganized, and mixed. Let's begin with organized. Organized killers are highly intelligent, take away any of the evidence in the weapon. They are socially competent, they pre-plan, they hide the body, and they choose random victims. All of these factors together make them extremely difficult to catch. Some examples of this are Ted Bundy, BTK, and John Wayne Gacy. Disorganized killers, on the other hand, have low intelligence, are socially incompetent. Some of them are necrophiliacs. They leave the weapon, they knew the victim, and they're spontaneous. They also have little control. The University of Huddersfield in England did a study and said that 70% of disorganized killers utilized overkill. Here's an example of a disorganized killer. It says, "For heaven's sake, catch me before I kill more. I cannot control myself." This man is also known as the lipstick killer. He used lipstick to write on the walls of his victim's house. And this is a good example of a disorganized killer because he cannot control himself and he needed to stop, but his brain couldn't stop him. The mixed killers have characteristics from both sides. A lot of the times, environmental or behavioral factors come into play, which makes them once an organized killer, but makes them spontaneously kill because something happened that they could not control. I just talked about classifications. Now let's talk about popular myths. One popular myth is that all serial killers are loners, which in fact is not true. A very good example of this is Ted Bundy, who had a family, a house, a job. He was a very loving man. That's what made him so scary. And that's what makes a lot of organized killers so scary. They're all socially competent, and they're very smart people. Here's a picture of Ted Bundy with his girlfriend at the time. As you can see, he was very caring, and that just made his family even more worried and shocked when it came out that what he had done. Another popular myth is that all serial killers are men. And a study published by the FBI has stated that 16% of serial killers were actually women. Aileen Wuornos is probably one of the most infamous ones. She was a prostitute who shot 7 people point blank. The last popular myth is that all serial killers are Caucasian. In the same study, as talked about before, in the United States, it says that white people are actually have committed 51% of the murders, and black individuals have completed 40 of them. I just informed you of common traits, different classifications, and popular myths. Knowing the basic traits of serial killers is vital, because as Ted Bundy said, we are your sons, we are your husbands, we are everywhere.